Good morning, good people. It is Tuesday, December 21st. This is Wake Up RayGque, brought to you by Bets TV. Make sure you subscribe to Bets TV YouTube channel, subscribe to the Wake Up RayGque podcast, and when you want to get all your information for picks and all that other good stuff over at FTN Fantasy, use the promo code ALLGAS. Save you a little something on the checkout. But we had two Monday Night Football games last night, and we have two Tuesday Night Football games to discuss today. We will review our bets yesterday. I hope you tailed our picks because my man Jay Rich held it down as he is the official Justin Jefferson whisperer. Whatever he says as far as Justin Jefferson props goes, you just got to cash that shit straight to the bank because Jay Rich is on it. So happy to see y'all. We're getting closer to Christmas time. A couple of days. I hope y'all have been nice, not naughty. You get everything you want for Christmas. But Jay, how you doing this morning? We were talking before the show, and I don't know if people noticed you're in an entirely new setup. So you've moved to your new house, and you were amazed that the garbage comes by and they use a machine to pick up your trash can and throw it in the bucket. I said you were living in the straight hood, man, picking that shit up by hand, man. You got to get that automatic trash can grabber, bro.
So apparently I was living in the hood. You just informed me that where I was living before was not up to standards.
No.
I'm literally looking out this window right here and I see the garbage truck come by and it just, like you said, the mechanical arm comes, picks up the trash. I was like, damn, man, we moved into a whole new neighborhood.
Moved on up to the east side, man. You moving on up, baby.
Even the garbage men get easier jobs out here. I couldn't believe it, but I'm happy for them. They don't got to go out walk in the cold. It's like freezing right now. So dude, happy for them.
It's 30 out here today, man. It's icy. It's 30. But the crazy thing, like I tell people, Texas has 3 seasons. There's a summer, there's a spring, there's a fall, and then it's like kind of winter, but it's still kind of summertime because it's 30 today. And Christmas Day is supposed to be 75 degrees. It's just the craziest weather. Yeah, it's crazy, man. It's ice cold now. By the middle of the day, it's 60 degrees outside. Just crazy wild weather, but I'm glad you've moved into your new digs. Happy to see you this morning. And we got the people in the comments, Lindsay Mack, telling you congratulations on a new house. And
Thank you,
sir, are a licensed realtor, and you actually sold or purchased this house, right? You sold your old house, were part of the purchase.
Yeah.
So you're having a merry little holiday, man. Nice little paycheck for you, right? Those expensive $10 million homes up there in Canada.
Not 10 million, no, a couple million here or there, depending on where you live.
Big
but
baller.
yeah, it's a lot of money out here to live. It's why I'm still at home, that's for sure. So we'll see. But hopefully soon, finally move on up out to the hood where I can afford a place to live, where maybe they do the garbage by hand like I'm used to.
Oh my goodness. Well, we're happy to have you. Glad you're in your new digs, and we got some news and notes that we got to talk about. That popped off yesterday that were kind of disappointing for, just the playoff push, for the individual in general, for our fantasy rosters. But Tampa Bay Buccaneers wide receiver Chris Godwin, he is out for the rest of the regular season, the rest of the playoff push. Torn ACL, took that hit over the middle on Sunday versus the Saints. It looked bad when it happened. It was initially thought to be an MCL injury, but it turns out, worst case scenario, it was an ACL. So Chris Godwin is out. Mike Evans is also, Bruce Arians said day-to-day / week-to-week. He's going to try to give it a go on Sunday with a hamstring injury. Leonard Fournette, hamstring injury. I didn't see any update on that one, but given the fact that he had to be helped off the field, soft tissue injury, the Bucs are pretty much a lock to make the playoffs. Jay, I think we should be probably not counting on Leonard Fournette moving forward. I think Bruce Arians did say that Ronald Jones is going to be the guy. It's crazy that here in Week 16, Ronald Jones is going to be the guy because he's been relegated to the bench since Week 1 when he fumbled versus the Dallas Cowboys. So he has not played. He's played sparingly from Weeks 2 through 15, and now come Week 16, our semifinals of our fantasy playoffs, Ronald Jones is back in action, and I'm intrigued by it because bodies, right? They have limited bodies. Keyshawn Vaughn is probably not that guy. No Giovanni Bernard. So Leonard Fournette out. Chris Godwin out. Mike Evans is out. Also, New York Giants quarterback Daniel Jones, he's done for the rest of the season. The neck, spinal cord injury. We saw the graphic of Mike Glennon and his neck and how much money he's made over his NFL career. I believe he's gone 6-24 when given an opportunity to start. And I learned yesterday, and I didn't learn, but I just remembered, Jay. Do you know who North Carolina State decided to replace Russell Wilson with during his second to last college season?
No, I have no idea.
Mike Glennon. They said we're going to roll with Mike Glennon over Russell Wilson, which forced Russ to leave North Carolina State and transfer to Wisconsin for his final season. So Mike Glennon's had a great NFL career, making about, I think it's average $5 million a season, and he's garbage. But neither here nor there. Daniel Jones is out. Jake Fromm is probably going to be the guy. He looked good that last drive that he played. Again, it was just one drive into the game. Cowboys were playing just to get out of there, playing not to lose at that point. They had the game in bag. But Daniel Jones is out. The NHL officially shut down their season. The next 5 days until December 26th. COVID is really starting to pick up. So, you know, we saw Travis Kelce pop up on the COVID list yesterday. Joey Bosa on the COVID list. Kelce is vaccinated, so I think there's a really good chance for him to play. I'm not sure all the inner workings of how that has to play out. But from what I know, Jay, as long as he tests double negative twice over the next couple of days, which he's got plenty of time until Sunday, Kelce should be cleared and ready to play for Sunday. Joey Bosa, on the other hand, I don't believe either of the Bosa brothers are vaccinated, and it's already been stated that Joey Bosa is going to be out this Sunday. Austin Eckler also popped up on the COVID list, but I believe Eckler is vaccinated, so he should play. I'm not sure how all of this is going to play out, but just be mindful. We could be without Travis Kelce, Austin Eckler, and whoever else pops up on the COVID list between now and, Thursday's the first games. And then we've got games, I believe, on Saturday and Sunday. So be mindful of watching out for that. And Alabama, the University of Alabama, they've started their COVID protocol measures with social distancing, mandatory mask wearing in all meetings because their college football semifinal playoff is here in, a little over a week. So they're just being cautious, making sure they don't lose any of their key players for their matchup versus Cincinnati. So getting excited for those college football semifinal playoffs. NFL, we got 2 games tonight. Then we turn right back around, get a day off on Wednesday to relax, regroup, set our fantasy lineups, and then we're right back at it on Thursday. So got a lot to get into. The Raiders versus the Browns. Let's do it right now.
Wake up! This is the Morning Run.
Run, Forrest, run!
So in a very uninspiring game yesterday, the Las Vegas Raiders ended up beating the COVID-led Cleveland Browns by, I believe it was 2 points. They kicked the game-winning field goal. The score was 13-14. Field goal makes it 16-14, so a 2-point victory. I tweeted out, and Jay, you kind of trolled me a little bit, but still, the premise was still true. The Raiders played not to lose. For about a quarter and a half. First down run, second down run, third down, Derek Carr heave it up and hopefully get a completion. They gave Cleveland every opportunity to get back into that game, and I tweeted it out watching. I said they're playing not to lose with a quarterback and a team, against a quarterback and a team with absolutely nothing to lose. Nick Mullins had nothing to lose. At that point, nobody predicted the Browns were going to win, being down 8 starters and over 20 players, no head coach. They had nothing to lose, no expectations placed upon them, yet the Raiders still went out there and looked terrible. You're watching Josh Jacobs' first down runs. You're watching him. Zay Jones was the featured option in that matchup. We were very bullish on Hunter Renfrow. That didn't come to fruition. We talked about Josh Jacobs, his rushing line. When I had it locked in at 47.5, and I said it on the show, I felt good about 47.5. Did not like the rushing total of 54.5, which Prize Picks had it set to right before kickoff. And Jay, do you know he hit the 47.5 number and missed the 54.5? So if you took the over on Josh Jacobs, that did not cash out for you. We were super bullish on Hunter Renfrow. That didn't cash out. I mean, he only had 3 receptions, 32 yards, and Derek Carr just wasn't even looking his way. Derek Carr, under 245. I don't think either of us like that number. It's just a strange thing, man. The NFL, truly, any given Sunday, chaos and madness can ensue. You never know what's going to happen, a la the damn Lions beating the Arizona Cardinals. On the Cleveland side of the ball, I thought Nick Mullins did fine, right? You didn't expect, or you should not have had expectations that Nick Mullins was going to go out there and save the day, throw for 200-300 yards. What he did was he took care of the ball enough. I do believe he had a turnover in that game, but he wasn't out there losing Cleveland the game. Once they committed to Nick Chubb, got the ground game going, Cleveland was right back in it. Donovan Peoples-Jones, he had a big drop, but had a couple of big grabs late down the stretch. Nick Chubb, he hit his over, 80.5. He went for 91, 92 yards, scored a touchdown, had another touchdown called back. Myles Garrett was banged up. We saw Tack McKinley leave on a card. Overall, just a boring game, man. A boring game, not a ton of fantasy points. I don't know how you felt about this matchup, but this was just one where it felt like both teams were just trying to survive. Cleveland knew they were up against it. The Raiders, for whatever reason, decided to just play it safe for, again, a quarter and a half. What did you think about the outcome of this game and any bets that you placed that hit or missed, Jay?
Like you said, man, this game was terrible. It was it lived up to the billing that I expected of it, knowing that the Raiders weren't playing very well, knowing the Browns were a little bit banged up. You talked about Nick Mullins. He played pretty well, 20 for 30, 150 yards, no turnovers actually, and that one touchdown play that he made to, I believe it was Harrison Bryant. But outside of that, the reason why I want to see Nick Mullins is exactly what we saw at the end of the game. Early on, we saw DPJ drop a few passes. We saw him not playing overly well. But towards the end, it was really Nick Mullins trusting him despite what happened early on to continue to feed him the rock, to continue to force that guy the ball because he's the best player they had. Jarvis Landry wasn't available. Nick Chubb's not going to be out there running patterns. So unless he's handing it off to Nick Chubb, which he did 23 times, he was throwing the ball to DPJ a lot. He got David Njoku involved, Rashard Higgins, Ernest Johnson a little bit. But for the most part, it was DPJ that really made it happen on that final drive. And I think that's the reason why we need to be excited for DPJ going forward, because if he's going to be the only show in town, especially down the field, he's going to get opportunities. We'll see what happens with Baker Mayfield. We'll see what they choose to do at quarterback, but we've seen enough flash from DPJ that I think we can trust him going forward. It just comes down to how consistent is he with his hands, but the athleticism, the potential is there, and I think he's still an attainable asset if you're playing in dynasty leagues and things of that nature. I didn't place a whole lot of bets in this one. We talked about it yesterday. I liked Carr's under. He had 236. I had it at 250. I went over on Hunter Renfrow against my better judgment. And then you talked about Josh Jacobs. But I was more so in on the game later on that night, which frankly wasn't any better. But this game was fine. It was what it was. The Raiders got the win. Now the Raiders and the Browns are sitting at 7-7, and both have some semblance of opportunity for the playoffs. The Browns, they needed this game to get atop of the AFC North, and I believe with this loss, they are now in dead last in the AFC North. That's how close that division is right now. Yeah, every team is 500 or above, but the highest team is the Bengals at 8-6.
Well, I mean, and I misspoke. Nick Mullins did not turn the ball over. He did not throw the interception. That was Derek Carr that threw that pick. Yeah. So when you're saying he went 20 for 30 with a touchdown, do you know Nick Mullins didn't get sacked? Like he did. I just wish Cleveland would have maybe opened it up, loosened it up a little earlier to kind of relax. That Raiders defense is bad, and I think you saw the formula, exploiting them with Nick Chubb, just forcing the run, especially those outside zone plays. Get Nick Chubb stretched out in the zone run, let him pick a gap, and then go. It's just the Raiders are just bad. Whoever the interim coach is, Rich Bisaccia, he will not get the full-time head coaching job. I mean, there was a point in time. No, sir. I mean, just not going for it on fourth down when they clearly should have. It was just a bad game. Bad game. I wanted Cleveland to win. I really did. The way the Raiders were playing, I was like, Cleveland deserves, go get it. Go get it, Cleveland. But ultimately, not a ton to talk about from this one. Again, Zay Jones, he and Foster Moreau led the team in targets with 9. Hunter Renfrow only 5 targets. I mean, this is, as much as we like Hunter Renfrow, and I think he's a really good slot receiver, he's just not an alpha, right? Like, he can't He's not going to go out there and just dominate week in and week out. I mean, you're truly banking on the volume. And if you're telling me that Hunter Renfrow is only going to get 5 targets, he's not going to do much with those 5 targets. He's a volume-based wide receiver. He needs the targets. He needs the receptions in order to be effective. He didn't have that. And you talked about that AFC playoff picture. Let's go ahead and take a look at it real quick. You talked about Las Vegas and Cleveland, both at 7-7. There they are, still in it. Still in it. And you look at this and you just think of the teams like Baltimore, with a victory versus Green Bay, that going for 2, was it against Pittsburgh when they went for 2 and missed that 2-point conversion? I mean, they could be, Baltimore could be 10-4 right now, right up there at the top of the AFC standings. It's just so tight, man. It's just a tight playoff race. This is what's going to happen, Jay, is these teams are going to have to play all through week 18. Normally you see teams take that final week off because they got it wrapped up. I mean, Kansas City has no room for error. And as bad as they've looked offensively at spurts through this season, who do you trust more than Kansas City in the playoffs right now? I mean,
that's tough, man. I honestly nobody, and I
nobody.
think that I want to believe in the Colts. And it's not because I believe in Carson Wentz. It's because they have the running game, right? The running game in the playoffs is everything to a lot of teams, even Kansas City. If they can't run the ball, they could struggle at some points in the playoffs. Tennessee as well. And not that I believe in them at any stretch, but another team that has ran the ball surprisingly well. Like, we talk about how good Derrick Henry is, but they still ran the ball for 200 yards this week.
Yeah.
Like, let's not forget about that. They're running the ball with guys we never really ever heard of, Deonta Foreman and Dontrell Hilliard, running for 200 yards in a game. But I think to your point more is that you really can't trust anybody. There's a lot of inexperience as well. Like, we know that Tannehill did make it to the one AFC Championship game. We know Josh Allen made it to the AFC Championship game. But whether it's the Patriots and Mac Jones and his inexperience, obviously, in the NFL and in the playoffs, or you talk about the Chargers not really getting it done in the playoffs either, we'll see what happens. I do like Cincinnati, though. I've been talking about this last week, how they have an opportunity to really get a high seed in the AFC. And I look at the Chargers as well, because if they did beat Kansas City, look at how much, like, they would literally be, I think, in second place right now in the AFC. So they didn't. But it's still that tight. Like, all these teams, I think this is 13 of the 16 teams in the AFC are within 3 games, which is nuts. So all these teams have a shot. No matter what you think, all these teams have a shot, and they're fighting for those. It's 7 teams or 14 teams fighting for 7 spots. And I would say every single wild card spot is up for grabs. And even some of the divisions are up for grabs too, like at the AFC North and in the AFC South a little bit too.
Well, I'll tell you, you want to believe. I'm going to tell you why you want to believe in the Colts, because I get it. They've got a strong running game. You need a running game in December to win playoff games. Defense is playing really well. The issue is the quarterback, man. You can't trust Carson Wentz. It's funny watching this week of football play out. You've got, and I go back to the 299 yards, and we had it on the show sheet. Mac Jones played his worst career game. 300 passing yards, 2 touchdowns was his worst career game. And we see Carson Wentz go 5 for 12. Last night, we're going to get into Minnesota. Kirk Cousins was abysmal. 12 for 24 for 87 passing yards. Kyler Murray. I like Kyler Murray too. I think Kyler Murray is a dynamic quarterback. I don't know, man.
Really? We're going to go there with Kyler Murray? You don't even know?
I mean, if let's be objective. Take the fantasy goggles off and just look at the quarterback, right? We used weaponry as an excuse. We used offensive line as an excuse. This is Kyler's, 3rd season? He's drafted in 2021. This is his 3rd season. It's consistency with Kyler Murray. And I think the allure of what he did at Oklahoma still it resonates with us, right? Because we saw a quarterback with that dual threat ability. We saw a quarterback that was dynamic on the ground and through the air. But so far in the NFL, the issue with Kyler Murray has been consistency. He starts off every season hot, then he got hurt. Now I don't know, man. He's going to get paid. He's going to get his bag. But when I'm looking at the quarterbacks that display that level of consistency, which is required to win a Super Bowl, which is required to push your team deep into the playoffs, I'm not seeing it with Kyler, man. I just don't. Fantasy, love him. He's going to be awesome. He's going to run. He's going to throw points. He's going to do all of that. But just week in and week out, if you're telling me Kyler Murray is put in a Bryce Young situation where it's 2 minutes left, he's got to drive the ball downfield and score. There are a couple of other quarterbacks that I have a lot more faith in than Kyler Murray right now. And I don't know how we just got to Kyler Murray. But we'll see. We'll see. And we're going to talk about that NFC playoff picture. It looks like you want to say something. What do you want to say? What do you want to say about that?
No, I'm just laughing because Kyler Murray, I get it from that standpoint, but you also look at some of the plays he does make to keep, like, there's times last year especially where he was the reason Arizona won games.
I get
right.
that.
There's definitely times where there's times where he loses Arizona games, but there's some times where he wins Arizona games as well. So I just don't think I'm quite there yet with Kyler. I see your point though, but again, it's one bad game against Detroit, but it's been a few. They haven't been playing well.
It's been more. And my thing is, I can point to every quarterback and say, here's a moment where they won a game. The issue is the level of consistency. I have not seen, and he's not the only one. I look at Dak Prescott, not consistent, right? He's awesome versus the Atlanta Falcons, and he's dicing up the, you know what I mean? He's going toe-to-toe with Tom Brady week one. But consistency in the big games, you got to be able to get it done, or the games in which you should 100% get it done, you can't falter. And I'm seeing Dak in games where he should get it done, not doing it, in games where we're just like, whatever. He goes out there and goes for 400 yards. Where's the consistency at? And I get it. It's a long season. Everything doesn't go well for 16, 17 games. But when it comes to the playoffs, it's who do you trust more? I don't trust Carson Wentz in the playoffs. I don't trust Ben Roethlisberger in the playoffs. I trust Patrick Mahomes.
Damn, shots at Big Ben. Come on, man. Mahomes. What's he, 38? 39?
I'm just saying. I trust Mahomes. I trust Tom Brady. You know, the way that
do you trust Mac Jones?
No.
Okay.
No. And the play right now, no. I don't trust Mac Jones. I don't trust the situation. I listened to Steve Smith from the Carolina Panthers. Steve Smith and Michael Irvin talk about New England after that game, and all they said was he played well enough to win. Yeah. But he has no weapons. I mean, Steve Smith literally said they're all garbage. I mean, and Steve Smith doesn't mince words. He was like, they have no outside wide receiver that keeps defensive coordinators up at night. That's why he gets his ass blitzed so much. That's why they're fine one-on-one coveraging people. And that's why a lot of the times those passes to the tight ends are wide open because they're single covered. Because they're just like, I'm going to man up all your wide receivers because Jacoby Myers doesn't threaten us. Kendrick Bourne is not a threat to us. And we're going to put pressure on his ass. So I don't trust New England offensively enough. I just don't think they have enough horses to go get it. Because as good as your defense is, when you're up against a true horse like a Jonathan Taylor, when you're up against T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, I don't care how bad Jamar Chase is playing, you still have to account for him on Sundays. Defenses are still shadowing him with a cornerback and a safety over top. Regardless if he has one catch for 3 yards or 13 for 230, you have to account for Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. The Cleveland Browns, Matt Bruning said it in the chat, they had Denzel Ward over, shadowing Hunter Renfrow with the safety over top. So they don't have anybody like that strikes fear in defensive coordinators. So for that, no, I don't trust him. I don't trust Ryan Tannehill. When you're looking at that AFC playoff picture, the teams and the quarterbacks that I trust, regardless of their record, Patrick Mahomes, I've got more faith in Josh Allen. I've got more faith in Justin Herbert. I don't trust Ryan Tannehill. I don't trust Carson Wentz. I don't trust Ben Roethlisberger. Lamar, probably. I just trust.
So where would you put Lamar and Burrow? Because Burrow to me is like a maybe trust because of some games he's really messed up and some games he's played really, really well. But Lamar really should probably be in that trust category. I think he's earned that respect, right?
I trust Lamar. He's earned my respect. I've seen him dig his team out of holes. Sigmund Bloom said it best. It's like he was talking about Mac Jones pulling his best Jameis Winston. He sets the house on fire and then frantically gets the water to put out the fire that he started. I've seen Lamar Jackson do that one too many times. So I do try. enough times that I trust Lamar Jackson moving forward in the playoffs. It's going to be interesting to watch how this unfolds. But Jay, we had another game last night, the Minnesota Vikings versus the Chicago Bears, and that too, Jay, was a
stinker.
Not a good game. Not a good game. We talked about Kirk Cousins. Let's start with the Minnesota side because they did win the game. Kirk Cousins was 12 for 24 for 87 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. Honestly, if this were Mac Jones that threw for 87 yards, that he'd be banished to NFL Europe. Kirk was terrible. He took 4 sacks, 26 yards, QBR of 19. Both these QBs were bad in this game. Justin Fields, QBR of 16.5. The average baseline median is 50. That's like an average quarterback performance. So both of these guys weren't good. Justin Fields, a lot of garbage time yards and points for him towards the end of the game. Dalvin Cook got the volume. I was in on Dalvin Cook's over rushing yard total. I believe it was 86.5. We hit that. He got 89 yards, 28 damn carries to get there. Akeem Hicks was wreaking havoc in the middle of that offensive line, for the middle of the offensive line for the Minnesota Vikings. Justin Jefferson, I'm going to let you take it away with Justin Jefferson because you continue to nail it, man. You continue to call accurately what's going to happen each week with Justin Jefferson. So, Skip Richards, go ahead and have the floor with Justin Jefferson.
Justin Jefferson did it again. Now, he made me a little bit nervous early on. He had 3 for 36 with a touchdown on the first drive. And then Kirk said, you know what, Justin, just take the day off. You don't play well outdoors. You get cold. So just relax, okay? Justin Jefferson, 4 receptions, 47 yards, and a touchdown, but did have 10 targets. But honestly, to be fair to the Bears, they played him really well. He was getting tugged a little bit. He was, some guys got there a little bit early, but the refs didn't see that flag for whatever reason of the, I believe, 16 calls they did make yesterday. So Justin Jefferson hit the under, like I told you guys. I told you Justin Jefferson unders when he plays outdoors, 63 yards per game. He was even under that in this game. That's crazy to me. I expected him to at least hit, maybe the 70, 80-yard mark, but honestly, the Bears and the Vikings, the play calling in this game was just god-awful. God-awful. It's one of those games where both coaches are playing to be fired, and somehow neither one got fired by the end of the day. People talking about Matt Nagy getting fired. I don't think he's going to get fired. I think he showed a lot of fire out there. You saw him yelling at the officials. There was a point where I thought he was going to get kicked out because there was the one time where he got the flag, losing his mind, and he was just going nuts. But Jefferson, he did hit his under, so I called it. I told you, Justin Jefferson unders.
You called it.
And the Vikings won 17-9. Really was 17-3 outside of the garbage touchdown. But the funny thing about that call was that they didn't kick the extra point or go for 2 or whatever, and the spread that we had was 7, and there was other spreads people had at 8, and people had at 6.5. So because the NFL rules where if it's inconsequential and time is over, they don't kick the extra point, that probably killed people on these spreads. You have some bad beats on the final play where Justin Fields throws a random useless touchdown, the only touchdown he threw all day. But yeah, Dave Montgomery, 18 carries, 60 yards. Justin Fields threw for 285, but like I said, probably 150 of that was in the fourth quarter when they were just down by a ton. Cole Kmet, though, caught a lot of outlet passes, 6 for 71. Darnell Mooney should have had at least 2 shots at touchdowns. One, obviously, called out of bounds. The second one, Justin Fields overthrew him. What are you going to do? But Mooney, man, he's good. I hope that he's the feature wide receiver next year. A-Rob maybe, moves on, does something else. And then, like you talked about the fumbles, Justin Fields fumbled twice, got 1 back, lost 1. Damiere Byrd fumbled. David Montgomery fumbled.
Turnovers,
it was just terrible performance from the Bears overall.
If a team won or lost, look at the turnover ratio. If you turn the ball over 3-4 times, the other team has no turnovers, there's a good chance you lost the game. I mean, that is a very good indication of who's going to win, who's going to lose. Turnovers. What are your thoughts on Justin Fields moving forward? Because I know there's a lot of people who are sky high on Justin Fields. I was one of those people who said he's 1B, and at one point he was my quarterback 1 in the 2021 class, right ahead of Trevor Lawrence. When you're looking at what you've seen this season, because the season's over, what are your thoughts on these quarterbacks? And let's just talk about their NFL potential moving forward. Are you still, because you've been a little weary on Justin Fields. You have not been the biggest Justin Fields fan. What are your thoughts for what you're seeing? I was watching it, and there were points where I was like, what is he doing? Like, what? Like, come on, man. I still believe. I still believe in the talent. I believe in that quarterback. What are your thoughts on Justin Fields though moving forward?
So I believe in the talent of Fields, but from the very beginning, doesn't matter when you've watched him so far, the biggest problem is that he continues to hold the ball too long. There
He
was one
does.
play where he took like a 25-yard sack, and that is no joke. He must have turned back around 2, 3 times like he was Kyler Murray. And I don't know who the defensive end was, maybe you know, Ray, but he legitimately ran down Justin Fields, which I did not expect to see.
Yeah.
It was, I believe, their right end came off the edge, also played the contain, and then just ran down Justin Fields as he ran 20 yards back. I think we'll have to see what happens in the offseason. You know, it's still only 1 year. He's still growing and learning, but he's continuing to hold the ball. And I don't know if this is a product of being at Ohio State, not because he's an Ohio State quarterback, but playing behind an offensive line that is so good, so talented, filled with first and second round picks. The dude has all day to throw. We see it with CJ Stroud in college football this season. These guys have an eternity to throw the ball, and they
Yeah.
have the best receivers in college football. And it's not an easy adjustment to come to a team that has a bad offensive line where you're getting pressured all day long, and you don't have the talent that can separate at the NFL level outside of one player, Darnell Mooney, and A-Rob, who hasn't been seen, basically an APB out for him since week 8. So I'm not sure what to make of Fields other than the fact that he does really need to learn to get the ball out quicker.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a product of the system. Maybe that's a product of him not throwing the ball early enough and getting out of his reads. I'm not sure, but it's probably a combination of a few things. But we'll see this offseason how he develops and how he gets better. And hopefully next season, see those improvements. If we don't see them, that's when I think we'll start to be more worried about what may happen in the future. Because people look at Justin Fields and look at Trey Lance as the highest upside guys. I think we're going to see the same issues with Trey Lance next season if he has the same type of deficiencies that we've seen from Justin Fields this year.
All right. Well, we got 2 Thursday night games to get to. Let's start with the Seattle Seahawks versus the Los Angeles Rams. Cooper Kupp, DK Metcalf, Matt Stafford, Russell Wilson, Tyler Lockett. I don't think Lockett's playing. I think Lockett's out.
Don't say that.
I think
Don't say
Lockett's
that. I
out.
need him.
I think Lockett's out. But, on paper, this seems like this should be, a battle of the quarterbacks, NFC West. But when you look at the stats, man, points per game, Seattle's averaging 20.9 points per game, where the Rams are averaging 28.2. So a whole touchdown, more points scored, points allowed per game. The Rams are kind of giving up a lot. When you think about the Rams defense with Jalen Ramsey and Aaron Donald, you think this is a stalwart type defense. They're giving up 22.5 points a game, whereas Seattle, you think about them just opening the floodgates. They're only giving up 20.2. Total yards allowed per game, a gain per game, 335 for the Seahawks, 397 for the Rams, and total yards allowed. The Seahawks are averaging giving up about 406 yards per game, whereas the Rams are only giving up 367 yards per game. Most of the damage against the Rams comes through the air, and people just have it their way like Burger King against the Seahawks on the ground or through the air. Doesn't really matter. So this sets up well for some of the skill position players for the Rams. Cooper Kupp in particular, right now, we talked about how many yards he has, 1,489 and 12 touchdowns, 113 receptions, just insane production by Cooper Kupp. So I do think that if you're going to play some prop bets tonight, Cooper Kupp, I probably wouldn't be afraid of him. I don't know what the line is right now, Jay. What's the
105.5. That's
10
big, man. 100-yard over-under is steep, even for Cooper Kupp.
What's the reception? What's his reception total at?
They don't have any reception lines right now on Prize Picks, but yeah, 105.5. I was looking at that this morning. I was like, man, I don't know.
Is that a little too
that's a
rich for
lot.
you? I don't know, man.
It's one of those ones that I think it would probably be in a 5 play. I don't think I would put it in a 3 play though. I just don't think I would. I think I'd be too nervous. You see Odell at 60 yards. It's just.
I like OBJ at 60. Cooper Kupp, his last 5 games, 15 targets, 123, 10, 129, 10, 96, 13, 122, 13, 95.
And he hit this number the last game against Seattle too, right? Which was pretty recently. It was like a month ago.
Yeah, no Jamal Adams again. Not that he was some big time passing, threat to thwart passes. It's high, man, but I think it's high for a reason because we know Cooper Kupp is going to get 10 plus targets, and he runs the routes downfield that rack up chunk yards. Right, every time Cooper Kupp catches the ball, he's getting 17, 22, 30-something yards of reception. It's high. I'm going to wait to see what his reception total comes out to. I bet you it's set at 7.5. I bet you when Prospects drops it, it's going to be a reception total of 7.5, and I'm taking the over. I think Cooper Kupp is going to do damage in this game. I think Seattle is in for a world of trouble on the defensive side of the ball, and I really do like Cooper Kupp in this matchup. I also like Odell. If 60, you said 60.5 is his line.
59, yeah.
59.
So you only got to hit the 60.
So 59.5. I'm digging.
So
that
okay,
OBJ.
all right. So let's start building right now, right?
All right,
let's start
build.
building this thing out. Would you put Cooper Kupp in a 3-play, or would you have to keep him in kind of like the fringe where he's more of a 5-play guy?
I think you got to put him in the 5.
Because to me, he's more of a.
I'm the yardage total. He's in a 5-play. I'm not doing a 3 power play with Cooper Kupp at 100.5. But I'm not as I see Rico saying he's passing on that prop. Dude, I still think it's very much within reason. I think you're probably stretching it, but if any receiver can do that, it's Cooper Kupp, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. It's a little high. It scares
that's
me
why
just
I
a
said I
little
want
bit.
to wait until the reception total comes out. I want to see what his reception total is, because I think it's going to be 7.5, and I'd be fine taking the over on that. We were talking about it before the show, man. Naturally, we as humans, I think humans are just naturally optimistic people. And that's why, whether it's the stock market or props, we're always projecting high, right? We're optimistic. We're projecting the overs. But man, a lot of these props have been if you just take the under every week, you'd probably be pretty profitable, like finding value plays to go under. Cooper Kupp would be, if anything, he'd be a no bet for me. I wouldn't bet the over, but I'm damn sure not going to put money on him going under. Like it would just be a no bet for Cooper Kupp. But I do like OBJ at 59.5. What else do we have? What about the quarterbacks? Russell Wilson, his passing yard total versus this. I had a dream. I shit you not. I woke up at 3 this morning, and you can check because I know you saw me retweet your tweet at like 3-something a.m. I woke up and I was like, DK Metcalf under. Like, I didn't even know what the line is. I don't know where DK's at, but I woke up thinking DK under. I'm thinking DK
against Jalen.
It's not even against. What have we seen from DK in that passing attack? And I know Tyler Lockett's out.
Shots at DK.
I know Tyler Lockett's out, but if I'm the Rams, I'm taking away Metcalf. I'm going to make Freddie Swaim or Gerald Everett beat me. And it makes it easier for LA to focus their concentration on one wide receiver. I don't know what his prop is. I'm assuming
he doesn't have anything out right now, at least on Prize Picks, and I'm sure part of that is because of Tyler Lockett, right? If Tyler Lockett is in, then that changes things for Metcalf. But if you did want to say, you know what, I'm feeling so here's the problem: is that if you're going after Metcalf, you probably want to go after the unders. At which point you need to wait for Lockett to be out, so his lines will change, right? Because you could get his fantasy points at 13 fantasy points, which, you know, you're looking at maybe 6 receptions for 70 yards, assuming no touchdown.
Yeah, but if he gets it,
if he scores a touchdown, you're done. Like, you're dead on that.
Yeah, if his fantasy points, if it's set at 13, I might be inclined to take the overs. I'm telling you, I think some of the most exploitable lines on Prize Picks are the fantasy points scored. Last night, Justin Fields, over 15 fantasy points. I smashed the over, hit it.
Yeah.
Nick Chubb, under 18 fantasy points. That hit, like, I really have been aggressively attacking the fantasy points on Prize Picks. And I think 13, I mean, if I can easily see a line where DK's 5 for 60 and a touchdown. You know what I mean? 5 for 52 in a touchdown, in which case he hits his over on the fantasy points scored, especially without Tyler Lockett. But if his yardage line is going to open up at 60.5, 74.5, we saw Hunter Renfrow there. I'm not touching it, man. I'm not touching it.
So DK for his career against the Rams, he averages 6 targets, 4 receptions, 67 yards, and almost a touchdown per game. 16.05 fantasy points per game. That's full PPR for DK Metcalf against the Rams, which is pretty damn good. You know, and you think about if Tyler Lockett doesn't play, it could be an even bigger target share for. That's interesting. But yeah, solid splits for Metcalf.
I like the over 13 fantasy points for DK. I like it. What's Russell Wilson's passing yard number at?
235.5 right now, which I think is pretty low. But I guess we'll see how much they run, right? Rashard Penny coming off a pretty solid game. The Rams defense, though, is playing much better. They're only averaging about 100 yards allowed per game, where they were closer to 120, 130 early on in the year. We've seen Aaron Donald join some of the big boys finally on stuff in the run, and the linebackers are playing better. The safeties are coming down and stopping more. So we'll see what happens with the Rams, but I think that potentially Rashard Penny's only at 50 yards, and I may be considering taking the under. I think the Rams can get out early and force Russ to throw the ball a lot more in kind of taking away that ground game a little bit.
So that's my fear, because I want to smash the under, because Russ has only hit this number twice in his past 5 games. I want to take the under Russ passing yards, but if the game plays out the way that we're thinking, where the Rams get up and get out early, it's going to force Seattle to throw the ball. So you're talking about garbage time. Russ might be inclined to take the over on Russ, on his passing yards, because I don't think they're going to be able to stop the Rams. It's going to force Seattle to throw the ball. Hence the reason why I do like DK over 13 fantasy points. I think we got a solid foundation for a prospect play. I like Russell Wilson over, DK Metcalf fantasy points over. So we've got two solid plays there. I'm waiting on Cooper Kupp, and then I'll value dive some other plays. But I do like those two. Russ over, DK over, especially with Tyler Lockett out. You're saying Rashad Penny under. I don't want to do that. Rashad Penny's got the speed to where one play he could pick up 20-something yards. And we've seen the Rams get exploited on the ground. I do think they're going to try to limit the amount of time that the Rams are on the field, because they know that offense is so explosive. And the best way to do that, Pete Carroll loves the ground game, and he loves him some damn Rashad Penny and Alex Collins and all those guys. So they're going to try to run the ball against the Rams. I think we got a solid foundation for a 4 or 5 leg play, which we will post on the pick tracker. So make sure you go to FTN Fantasy or FTN Daily, and now you can do it from your mobile site. It's right at the top. It says Prize Picks. Boom, pick it, pick tracker. You can follow all our picks. Use the promo code ALLGAS. Save you a little something on the checkout too. Anything else from this game that you want to talk about? The running back, Sony Michel, Darrell Henderson, probably going to split work. Henderson is back.
Darrell Henderson back.
Yeah, Henderson is back. We'll see how that all shapes out. Odell Beckham, we kind of like OBJ. We're waiting on Cooper Kupp's receiving yard line, reception total to come out. We'll see how it plays out, man. We've also got the Washington football team versus the Philadelphia Eagles, and this is the final game in this slate of Week 15 matchups. Philadelphia favored by 6.5 with an over-under of 42.5. We got Antonio Gibson. Miles Sanders is playing. Jalen Hurts was not listed on the injury report. However, ankle injuries easily can just sort of reoccur. And I'm nervous about Jalen Hurts finishing this matchup, man. But if you got him in fantasy, at this point, you have no choice but to start him unless you have Gardner Minshew as your backup quarterback. If you waited, 4 days to play a quarterback in that final spot. Jalen Hurts, the football team, I think they're down a whole bunch of defensive players right now. So it should be exploitable, but this is another one where in my dream where I was thinking DK Metcalf under, I was also thinking the Slim Reaper under, Devonta Smith. Like if Jalen Hurts is the quarterback and he's not able to run around because his ankle is limiting him, I just don't know if he's proficient enough from the pocket to be able to distribute the ball all over. And I just have a strong suspicion that Sirianni is just going to try to run out of this game. Just let's run. Jordan Howard's back. Miles Sanders is there. You got Kenneth Gainwell. I mean, I can easily see another 40 carries for running backs from Philadelphia this week, which will not bode well for the pass catchers. If I'm going to target any pass catcher in this game, it's going to be Dallas Goedert. I would love to know where his reception total is, potentially his yards, depending on how high those are. I've got a feeling they're over 50, and at that point, I'd be a little nervous to take anything over 50.5. I see you smirking back there, so I'll bring you in a second. But that's where I'm at with this matchup. I think Philadelphia is going to try to run the ball, get out of there. What are we looking at as far as lines?
So Devonta Smith, to make your dream come true, it's 47.5. 47.5. It's low. It's very low. But this is what Smitty's. But we talked about it. Actually, this was, I believe, on Thursday or Friday. How Smitty, I really want to take the under in this game, but Washington is still one of the worst pass defenses in the NFL. We'll see what happens with Jalen Hurts, but Dallas Goedert, 49.5. So you said you think it's gonna be in the 50s. All you got to do is get there. All you got to do is get there. So it's going to be close for sure. And I think that the bigger thing with this game is that Miles Sanders has only a 50.5 over under, and the Eagles run the ball the best in the NFL, 160 rushing yards per game. Doesn't matter what defense they've played. Washington's been pretty good against the run, but it really hasn't mattered who they played. When they played the Saints, when the Saints were the number one rushing defense in the NFL, and they put up 220 yards on them. I just don't think you're gonna be able to stop this Philadelphia Eagles rushing attack. It's been strong all year. They have so many bodies. They throw everything at you. Jalen Hurts probably won't be as involved like you talked about with the ankle injury, but I'm not too worried about it. I think Miles Sanders, Boston Scott, whoever they want to throw out there, Jordan Howard, are all going to get their work, and they've been pretty well. The offensive line has only played better and better as the season went on, and the defense is playing really, really well.
Wait a minute, though. The offensive line, they are without Landon Dickerson and tackle Andre Dillard. So they're out. Landon Dickerson.
Man.
And I know Dillard's not been super good this year, but it's two offensive linemen in two critical pieces.
Why?
In two critical spots that are out. So no Landon Dickerson, no Andre Dillard. And I said the Washington football team, they had a lot of defenders out. Based on this injury report right here, the only people on the defense that are out are Kaliki Hudson. So I guess everybody's in for the football team. I guess they cleared. I don't know, man. I am sort of backing off of that Philadelphia run the ball stance, and it even more so confirms. Here's my thing. There's no way that Devonta Smith and Dallas Goedert are going to hit their over. One of them will. And if I had to bet on one of them, it's probably Goddard. I would no bet Devonta Smith. I don't even feel confident in Goddard. But the guy that's in the middle of the field, that plays closer to the line of scrimmage, that's easier for Jalen Hurts to get the ball to. And if Jalen Hurts does leave this game because the ankle injury gets aggravated and Gardner Minshew comes in, he's going to pepper Dallas Goedert. I think I'm in on Dallas Goedert, out on Devonta Smith, man.
All right, so I'm fine with that. And so I'm kind of with you there. I'm okay with that, especially seeing it at 49.5. I'm cool with throwing that number out there. Smitty, I just don't love it, man. You look at some other numbers like McLaurin, only 10.5 fantasy points. Dallas Goedert, 10 fantasy points. Antonio Gibson, 14.5. I think he's got a pretty good shot at the touchdown. But the biggest problem for Washington, we didn't even mention it yet, is the quarterback. We don't know who's playing quarterback. Taylor Heinicke is in COVID protocol. Kyle Allen's in COVID protocol. There was reports that Kyle Allen is suspected to potentially clear protocols, where Heinicke, it seems less likely. So I'm not really sure where they stand in terms of protocols. But again, this game, it's funny because these games actually are at the same time. It's not like last night where the games were staggered. They're at the same time. So really no one's going to be watching Washington and Philly unless you're a degenerate like we are, and we'll have it up on both screens. But I think the bigger question is, like, if I was telling you Miles Sanders at 9.5 fantasy points, would you take it? Because he's got a good shot at scoring a touchdown too. And, you know, his over-under is at 50 yards, which is a lot considering his fantasy score is 9.5. But if he does score, he's going to hit it pretty much guaranteed. And so do you want to bet on Miles Sanders to score knowing his fantasy points are only at 9.5?
I have not had success with the touchdown thing, man. Like, it's just, if I do touchdowns, I just want to bet those individually. Putting them on the parlay, it's too random. You know, it's too random. If these teams don't move the ball, if they can't, like, I just would rather bet on volume. Like, I just want volume. If you're going to touch the ball a whole bunch, I want your fantasy points. If you're not really going to touch it that much, like, it's as simple as that for me. I want people who have an opportunity to actually score these points to cash out on these bets, and touchdowns are just too. You're banking on either a long ball or them getting into the red zone and then feeding you, opposed to 3 or 4 other options. So I don't even know if Miles Sanders is the featured guy in Philadelphia. Every week it's a new damn running back. One week it's Boston Scott, then he goes away. Then it's Jordan Howard, then he goes away. Then it's Miles Sanders, but then they get to the red zone and it's Kenneth Gainwell. I just don't want to fool with any of the running backs from Philadelphia. And if I do, I would take a long shot play. And as I'm looking through more of this injury report, Washington, Kendall Fuller, COVID list, Tim Settle, COVID list. So, man, this is a wild one. I have no damn clue. Honestly, Jay, there's so many players that are out in key positions for what Philadelphia does well. You've got a quarterback that's banged up. Not only is he banged up, he's not that proficient or consistent of a thrower right now. So it makes a lot of stuff on the outside for me no bet. I mean, at 47.5, Smith should be able to smash that. But he's been getting, 2-3 targets a game? I mean, they're not even throwing to wide receivers in Philadelphia. Literally, I think the last couple of weeks, they've got like 12 combined targets to wide receivers in Philadelphia. They don't want to throw the ball. They don't trust Jalen Hurts to throw the ball. So, therefore, I probably need to just stay away from those bets, man.
Yeah, so I just want to do a quick recap for the people of some of the stuff we talked about today. So Russell Wilson, over 235.5. That may make your prop play. Cooper Kupp, over 105.5 is still, we'll see where the line kind of.
I'm waiting on the reception.
We're waiting on it. This is for a flex play. Then you got DK Metcalf, 13 fantasy points. You talked about potentially you like that one. Dallas Goedert, over 49.5 receiving yards. And then the other one that I just threw in there, Jalen Hurts, under 174.5 passing yards. Right? Yeah. It's Jalen's probably not gonna hit that number, man. It's just he's probably not.
Build it out.
He's not throwing the ball. Build it out. We'll see. But those are some of the ones we talked about today.
What I'm not gonna do is I'm not gonna combine both of these games on one ticket. I'm gonna do Seattle, LA, and then I'll do one for Philadelphia, Washington. I'm not putting those two together. I've got a lot more confidence in the game script, in the players, in the in the Rams Seahawks game than I do the Washington football team and the Philadelphia Eagles. So I don't want the stink of Devontae Smith flowing over into my beautiful Russell Wilson plays and Rashad Penny and Cooper Kupp. Like, I'm just going to leave that stinker over there, and then we're going to focus on the Seattle Rams game. But I will put in a 3 or 4 leg flex play on the Philadelphia Washington side. I'll find some exploitable line. We'll put it in, probably looking at fantasy points scored. You said Terry McLaurin, only 10.5 with no Curtis Samuel, no Ricky Seals-Jones, no Logan Thomas. It's really Antonio Gibson. That's another one. And we didn't talk anything about Antonio Gibson. I don't know.
We'll see.
What's he at?
We'll see.
65, what's he at, 65.5?
65.5, and I believe J.D. McKissic is back. I
don't think he is. No, he's out this week. I think
is he out again?
Yeah, I think JD's out.
Oh my God, this guy's got to get back in the game. But yeah, 65.5. So he'll see a boatload of carries, right? He'll be 20, probably 25
leads
carries.
The NFL in fumbles. He fumbled last week and they pulled him.
And that's not good for his fantasy score either at 14.5.
Yeah, that's tough. Philadelphia's defense is still playing well. This one is one where I have a lot less confidence in the Philadelphia-Washington matchup, but we will build something out and load it in the pick tracker over there on FTN Daily. We appreciate y'all tapping in. Jay, good show today. Good people. Thank you, Brandon, Stone, Evan, Lindsey, Matt Bruning, everybody that tapped in. We appreciate y'all being here. Tomorrow, the last show, maybe the last show of 2021, to be honest with you, Jay. I don't know if we're coming back after Christmas or not, or we catch up in January. We'll figure it out, but we will be here tomorrow. We'll talk about the Thursday night matchup, give you some plays that we like, that there's some early lines on prospects for the weekend, and make sure you tap in with us 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We appreciate y'all. Subscribe to the show. Check out the YouTube channel. Check out the Bets TV website. Subscribe to the Wake Up with RayGque podcast, and we'll see y'all tomorrow. Have a great day. We out. Peace.